Michael Aller here, and today I decided to pick up Substance Designer from Algorithmic and a copy of Unity and see what I could learn in terms of procedural texturing. And I decided I wanted to make a quick grid procedural material that allows me to change how many grid squares are on a mesh. And this ended up taking a lot longer than I thought, simply because I thought Substance Designer had some sort of text node, but it doesn't. So I had to do this whole Illustrator thing. I'll get into that later. But the end result, I think, is pretty cool. And it's a substance material that allows you to have multiple subshaders in here, such as I have red graph, blue graph, and black graph. And each of these subshaders, or subtextures, I should say, each of these subtextures have different properties that I made that it can use to adjust the texture. And the first property we can assign here is, I'm going to go to the blue graph texture directly. Again, these are textures and not shaders, so these work with the standard Unity optimized shaders, and you're manipulating the texture itself here. I can change, the first property is I can change the grid size. So if I want just one square, I can make a grid size of 1, I get 1 square, or 2, I get 2 squares, up to 8. And 8 gets a little blurry, but I can increase the line size here, and that helps out quite a bit. I can also make the line size 0 or really thick, depending on what you need it for. So that's another property to adjust. I'll bring this back down to 4, because that's where I like it. The next property you can set is the background color. So this is blue graph right now. I want to go ahead and drag black graph on here. But with black graph, I have this weird color scheme. Go ahead and if I want to make, I don't know, magenta graph, that works too. If I want to change the line color to be black and the text color to be black to help compensate, that works too. So, but I don't like that, so I want to change back to black, line color, let's do white, that seems to work. And it's also generating some form of normal map and specular. It's kind of hard to see, but uh, if you look closely, the lines are actually raised above the rest of the mesh, and the numbers and the lines have specular, except specular is hard to see when the lines are black. Let's go ahead and do something like, I want to make these lines white, and the specular and normals might help out a bit. There you go. So there's that. Um, yeah. So, I mean, it's still very work in progress, but that's what it is. And you can look at the textures it generates right here. All the normal maps are not being generated right now, so 66. Let's see if we can fix that. In order to generate this, we have to use the algorithmic substance designer, and there's quite a few nodes that are taking place. Like I have this variable that lets me switch between a 1 through 8 grid to a 8 through 64 grid and a 64 through 512 grid, except that variable is not showing up in Unity. Still, I'm not really sure what that is. But each of these nodes has properties you can adjust, and in these properties you can map them to different functions to have subgraphs in these things, and it's pretty cool. A little time consuming, but it's pretty nice. So let's see if we can change what we have here. Resolution. This needs to be set. For some reason this resolution is not being set right. I'll open up Unity and see if I amp up my resolution parameter, if my normal map changes. Nope, it does not. But oh, I changed to black graph. That's right. So yeah, one slider we have here is a resolution slider. Or I changed red graph. Red graph is down 4, so our resolution is down 2048. What? I think it caps out at 2048 because I can scale down all the way to 6, but I can't go above 2048 for some reason. I don't know if that's me or my material. So here's a 2048 texture here. Normal map is still reading as 16 by 16. That's weird, but I'll figure that out in later after this video. But yeah, so again, still very work in progress, but it's working, so that's cool, right? Let me do absolute here. And to make changes, it's pretty easy. You just have to republish your substance, and it automatically imports in here. You might have to import failed. Huh. Looks like this small change here made it impossible to import. So you get those issues too, I guess. But hey, the normal map looks a lot more apparent. Maybe it's working now. There we go. I don't know what that was, but now the normal maps are rendering correctly. And now if we see, it's much more apparent. And it gives a much cooler grid effect, I think. So yeah, that's basically Substance Designer and Unity. So hopefully that was informative. Either way, it's something I'm kind of more proud of than for learning it today. But it's really nothing major. Just it is what it is. So, cheers.